Hey, what's up, everybody? So coming to you today with another 2020 year-end top 10. I only got 2 of these left. This one is on my favorite division of all time. And honestly, it's currently my favorite division right now in boxing, and that is the heavyweights. Can't beat the heavyweights. I grew up on the heavyweights. This is the division that I love the most. Again, guys, True Boxing, if you can give me a thumbs up, support my channel, subscribe if you guys dig it, anything to, just get me some more views and all that kind of stuff, because it's all things boxing. I do a lot of different kinds of videos. If you haven't seen them, I do what's next after fighters fight to give you kind of an update of what they're doing. We got boxing awards, we got the fights that are up and coming. I'm doing my podcast again tonight, and we will have the preview for next weekend on that podcast with my boy Von Blue and my boy Ray Riz. So, just show some love. Give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And shit, if you don't like it, give a thumbs down. Any kind of support's cool, to be honest. I mean, I look at that as support because at least you guys are watching it. If you disagree, cool. If you want, leave a comment. I would love that. So, anyways, that's it. So let's jump into the heavyweight year-end top 10. The heavyweights they're back. They've been back for the last couple years. Obviously, coronavirus slowed things down in 2020, but 2021 looks promising, and let's jump into it. So we're going to get into the guys that dropped out of the top 10. There was only one former 2-time world title challenger, Kubrat Pulev of Bulgaria. He drops out. He was previously number 10, or he was previously tied for 10th. He's 39 years old now, and I think I personally feel like he's on his last legs. He's talking about still fighting, which I commend him and I admire him, and he's a talented fighter. Nothing against him, but he's 39 now, I mean, does he really want to keep it rolling? Does he want to take one last run? In 2020, he only fought one time. He waited around for his mandatory shot at Anthony Joshua for the unified titles, and he got it in, December. He took him on, and, he got hurt early. He showed a lot of heart. He got up off the canvas in the 3rd round, and he actually did okay towards the middle rounds. You can argue that he won a couple rounds there, but, Anthony Joshua, just too skilled of a fighter, and that uppercut was wicked, and, Pulev just didn't do anything to avoid that uppercut. He just couldn't do it. He got hit with a beautiful uppercut in the 9th round that put him down hard, and then a 1-2 punch, right hand down the middle, dropped Pulev for good, and he lost by knockout in the 9th. But, Pulev's got nothing to hang his head about. He's only lost a couple fights to, 2 great heavyweights Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua. So, nothing to hang his head about. Does he want to take one last run at it? I think that's probably what he's going to do, from what I've been hearing, but we'll see. I think he said he wanted to fight Dillon White. I think he said that. I think I read that somewhere. And, Pulev's got a lot of heart. So, he drops out of the top 10, but, he's definitely got the talent and the pedigree to get back into it if he could beat the right opponents. So, we'll see. Next at number 10, and now he remains there. He was tied for 10th last year. Is 32-year-old former world title challenger Michael Hunter. Now, Michael Hunter was a world title challenger at cruiserweight. He only fought one time in 2020 when he took on. He fought a low-level opposition, got a 4th round knockout in December. He had been dropped from Matchroom. Matchroom didn't renew his contract, and he was waiting around to try to get an opponent all year. So, kind of a disappointing year, but he's still highly rated by the IBF. I believe he's the number 4 ranked contender by the IBF. He only has one loss in his career to Oleksandr Usyk at cruiserweight when he went for his only world title. And this guy's got an opportunity to get right in line for a title shot, because I believe Kubrat Pulev is still ranked number 1, but that's because they haven't redone the rankings yet for the IBF. But I'm pretty sure Charles Martin, the former champ, is number 2, and then Oleksandr Usyk is number 3, and Usyk is the WBO's number 1 ranked contender. So I'm pretty sure that Michael Hunter, if he puts his foot down, he's probably going to get a final eliminator against Charles Martin. he should at least. So, and that's a very winnable fight. I would favor Michael Hunter to win that fight. So that would give him a direct shot at a world title. So if I'm Michael Hunter, try to get one of the top 10 guys in the ring, or really an easier path would be to fight Charles Martin, who's a decent heavyweight and a former champ technically. But, I mean, he's very beatable, and I think Michael Hunter should try to take that and go after, you know, he might not get a world title shot this year, but he could if belts go vacant and stuff. At the very minimum, though, he would get it next year, and it would be against probably one of the top dogs, or they give up the belt and he becomes a world champion. So very possible for Michael Hunter to move in line for a world title here. And I really want to see him step up the competition, especially since, you know, he had a draw with Oleksandr Povetkin in December of 2019, and then Povetkin went on in 2020 and upset Dillon White and moved himself back in the top 5. So this guy fought Povetkin to a draw. So I think he's right there, and his lone defeat is to another guy who's right around the top 5 in Usyk. So Michael Hunter has some, has some creds here, and he needs to cash in on him in 2021 and try to get that world title shot. Okay, next at number 9, dropping one spot from number 8, is 28-year-old and former world champion Joseph Parker of New Zealand. Well, Joseph Parker only fought once. He fought in February, got a knockout win. That was on the Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas undercard. And now he's just trying to get himself back in the mix. He's a WBO's number 3 contender. I think he's just trying to work himself in. He's fighting, I think he's fighting Junior Fa in a New Zealand kind of fight right there on February 27th. That's going to be on DAZN. He's the favorite going in. You know, if he can beat the undefeated Fa, that's going to keep him, in line for something else. He fights with DAZN and Eddie Hearn, so he's going to have opportunities, as Eddie Hearn has a decent stable of heavyweights. So, he needs to try to move himself and get himself into a final eliminator this year if he can't get a title shot. Final eliminator would be huge to set himself up for a title shot, because Joseph Parker's one of those high-risk, low-reward guys. He's not unbeatable, but his lone defeat was to Anthony Joshua, and that was the only guy to go 12 rounds with Joshua before Andy Ruiz. He lost that fight in a unification belt. That's when he lost his title, but, Parker didn't make Joshua look good in that fight, and that's his kind of style. He's kind of a boxer. He can hit, too, and, he almost came back and knocked out Dillon White in their fight. He had him down in the 12th. So, Joseph Parker's a very good heavyweight, and I hope he works himself back into a final eliminator and maybe gets a top 10 guy this year. I would love to see that. We'll see. And he has a win over Andy Ruiz, so you can't say this guy don't have credentials, because he really does. All right, next at number 8 is contender Dillon White. Dillon White drops one spot from number 7. He's 32 now. In 2020, he only fought once, and that was in August when he took on Oleksandr Povetkin, a fight that got pushed back when the coronavirus set in and shut everything down. They finally got together in August, and you know what? Dillon White came out looking good early. He was landing good shots, he was boxing, he was jabbing, and he looked like he was going to put the 40-year-old Povetkin down. He knocked him down in the 4th round once or twice, and he looked like he was on his way to a knockout win. And then in the 5th round, the very talented Povetkin slipped to the left and landed a beautiful uppercut. Candidate for knockout of the year, as he laid Dillon White out cold and won the interim title from Dillon White. And it was sad, because Dillon White was on the verge of a fight with Tyson Fury, because the interim championship would have given him a direct shot at Fury next. Now the winner of the rematch between these two, which I just read it looks like it's going to take place March 6th, the winner would not be in line until probably the end of the year for the WBC title. So it prolongs a possible title shot for Dillon White, but he just needs to shake the loss off. And he has an immediate rematch. They're fighting again in March. You know what? I think Povetkin is dangerous, and now I don't know if Dillon White's going to beat him. I'm honestly going to pick Povetkin, because he's a dangerous fighter, and that fight came on the heels of him losing. I think he's going to fight smarter in the rematch and try to set up his knockout He knows he can knock him out now. He knows he can hurt him. So he might even be a little bit more aggressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight. The rematch, March 6th on DAZN. Dillon White, Oleksandr Usyk. The winner is probably going to end up with a title shot at some point against one of the big three. They could fight, whoever between Joshua and Fury if they end up fighting, or even Deontay Wilder, because he's in line in the WBC as well. So we'll see. Next at number 7, dropping 3 spots from number 4, is former 2-time world title challenger Ruiz Ortiz. He's 41. Ortiz, still the boogeyman. Even though he got laid out against Deontay Wilder, the only guy to beat him, both losses of his career. He got laid out back in November of 2019. He still is an avoided heavyweight even at 41. He got a first-round knockout against a nobody in November, finally came back. He's still got a pretty decent ranking. He's number 3 in the WBC, but we just got to see where they're gonna put him in at, and who he's possibly gonna fight next. I hope a top 10 guy fights him. I know Andy Ruiz was interested in a showdown with him, but I don't know if they'll be able to line that up now, because Ruiz is still supposed to come back in the next couple months and shake off some rust. He hasn't fought since December of 19 when he lost the unified title back to Anthony Joshua. So, it's kind of up in the air for Ruiz Ortiz. I hope somebody is willing to fight him. I think he should start looking at possibly crossing the street, maybe taking on Joseph Parker, maybe Michael Hunter if that's available. Those guys might avoid him too, though, because they both kind of have high rankings in their weight class. So I'm just hoping somebody wants to grow some balls and goes after Ruiz Ortiz, because I don't think he's unbeatable. Yes, he's dangerous, but to get him on your resume would be a big deal. And I hope somebody gives him an opportunity like an Andy Ruiz in 2021, because he deserves it, and he's only getting older, and he's an entertaining fighter. I want to see him fight, so we'll see. Okay, next at number 6 is the undefeated and former undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk. Usyk entered the year, he made his debut in 2019 in the heavyweight division. He got a 7th round TKO over some nobody, and he was just waiting around for a showdown with Derek Chisora, and it finally happened in October. It got put off a couple times due to injury, and finally on, I believe they fought Halloween night, if I'm correct. And it ended up being a pretty good fight, but he completely outboxed Chisora. Outboxed him, outworked him, and scored a hard-fought but deserving 12-round unanimous decision. And that confirmed his mandatory title shot that he already had. So he's in line to fight for the WBO title. Right now, it's kind of up in the air what exactly is going to go down, because Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury look like they're going to be getting together next. That looks to be pretty close to getting done. Where does that leave Usyk, who's been waiting around for his mandatory title shot? Eddie Hearn wants Usyk to fight somebody else for the interim title. And then if the winner of Joshua and Fury decide to not fight him, he gets upgraded to full champion. But he says he's said a couple things. He's hinted around about taking step-aside money, and then he's also said he's not doing it. So it's kind of up in the air right now. That hasn't stopped Fury and Joshua from negotiating. So I really think if that fight gets done, I don't know what's going to happen with the WBO belt, but the options are Usyk's either going to fight Joshua next for the unified title, or he's going to fight maybe Joe Joyce or Joseph Parker for the interim title later on. And I think Joe Joyce might be the favorite on that one. So we'll see. But he's definitely going to have a big fight next that a win would put him right in the top 5. And we'll see what happens, because I like Usyk a lot, and I want to see him get an opportunity in the heavyweight division this year. Next at number 5 is the 41-year-old former world champion and now the WBC interim champion, Oleksandr Usyk. This guy came into the year looking like he was going to get beat by Dillon White, like he was on his last legs and he was getting his last shot. I picked Dillon White to win the fight, but I really thought, Usyk was dangerous coming in, because I give Usyk a lot more respect than most guys do because of his pedigree and what he's done. Since 2006, 2007, the dude's been a top 3, top 5 heavyweight in the world. He's that good, has that kind of talent. I think people maybe started writing him off after the Michael Hunter fight when he fought to a draw with Michael Hunter, but Michael Hunter's a pretty solid heavyweight, and Povetkin was going on about 3 months rest heading into that. At his age, that ain't easy, and he had a tough fight before that with Hughie Fury. So I think that played a part in it, but Povetkin came into this one, and early on, as I said with Dillon White, he was getting his ass whipped. White started putting it on him more and more, and in the 4th round, he knocked him down and had him hurt, and it looked like he was on the verge of getting knocked out by Dillon White. And then in the 5th round, he slipped to the left and landed a beautiful left-hand uppercut. This is a right-handed fighter, and he knocked him out cold with a beautiful left uppercut, monster punch, and laid out Dillon White and a candidate for knockout of the year. Great performance right there by Povetkin, and he is now the interim champion. But he has a rematch due. They were supposed to fight in November. Povetkin tested positive for corona, so now the fight's taking place March 6th is what it looks like, and I can't wait. I think a rematch is going to be good. To be honest, I'm favoring Povetkin going into the rematch. I think the fact that he knocked him out the way he did might be in Dillon White's head, and Dillon White doesn't play defense very well, and Povetkin's very, very good. So White's going to have to fight the perfect fight and avoid a big shot like this in a rematch in order to win. I don't think that's impossible to do because he was on his way to knocking him out the first time, but it's going to be tough, and I'm picking Povetkin in the rematch. So we'll see what happens, but March 6th on DAZN, if Povetkin wins, he's probably going to be getting a world title, at least one more world title shot before he hangs him up, and the guy's dangerous even at 41, so we'll see. But congrats to him. One of the best wins of the year right there. Next at number 4 is the former unified heavyweight champion, Andy Ruiz Jr. He remains number 4 from last year. Povetkin moved up from being in 9th, by the way. He moved up 4 spots. Andy Ruiz, though, stays at number 4. He hasn't fought since, he didn't fight at all in 2020. He hasn't fought since December of 2019 when he lost the unified title back to Anthony Joshua after he upset Joshua in June of 2019 with a 7th round TKO and became the unified champ. He was supposed to come back towards the end of the year. He was training hard, and he was talking about possibly fighting Luis Ortiz early this year, but his comeback fight never happened. He was supposed to fight Chris Arreola, and he ended up deciding not to do that, and pushed his comeback towards early in 2021. He's training with Eddie Reynoso, Canelo's trainer now. Apparently he's getting in better shape, and we're going to see how he does when he comes back. I like Andy Ruiz. He's exciting, talks shit, and he's fearless. And I want to see what he does when he comes back. Andy Ruiz is highly rated by most of the governing bodies. His highest is number 4 by the WBC. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Ruiz ends up fighting Deontay Wilder this year. I think he could fight anybody. I think he could fight, he could go at it with Luis Ortiz, as originally like they wanted to do. I think he could fight Wilder. I think him and Wilder would burn the house down. I would love to see that fight. They could fight for the regular version of the WBC belt because Wilder's number 1. If the WBC allows Tyson Fury to become the franchise champion, which they've done a couple times with Canelo and Vasily Lomachenko, then I think they could do it with Tyson Fury, and then Wilder could come back and fight a name opponent, and Andy Ruiz is a name opponent. That'd be great. They're both with the PBC. I think that'd be awesome. So Andy Ruiz has the clout to call for fights and do pretty much what he wants, and he can make some big money against Deontay Wilder, and I think it's a great matchup right there. So we'll see what happens, but Andy Ruiz, I'm looking forward to the year that he's going to have in 2021. Next at number 3, dropping 2 spots from number 1, is the former longtime WBC champion, Deontay Wilder. Wilder's 35 now. I didn't realize he was that old. I know I look at his age every year, but Wilder just doesn't seem 35 to me, but he has been around for a bit. But, he came in as a number 1 heavyweight into the year, and he had the rematch with Tyson Fury in February, and I thought he was going to lay Tyson Fury out. I thought he had a great 2019 to prove that he was the best heavyweight in the world. He was coming off a monster win over Luis Ortiz in a rematch when he laid him out in the 7th round, And I really felt like he was going to knock Tyson Fury out and leave no doubt in a rematch. And Fury shut everybody up. He stepped inside of Deontay Wilder, inside of his range, and he just got right in his chest and his face and beat him up, dominated him, and stopped him in the 7th round of that fight and won the WBC title from him. Now, Wilder, I've lost a lot of respect for him this year. I've never really been big on the shit talking, but I've always liked Wilder, and I really gained a lot of respect, and I became a fan in 2019 of how good he really is. But man, all the excuses for the loss to Fury have annoyed me. There was something in his drink, his costume was too heavy and it wasted his energy in his legs. Oh, Tyson Fury, hit him, with a bar or something. It's just been a long line of excuses. And, I hope Deontay Wilder shuts his fucking mouth and comes back this year and throws himself back in there with his fist. Do it with his power. 35 with his kind of power is not old. Wilder can still beat anybody, in my opinion, in the top 10. I don't think he's going to get the rematch with Fury next for the WBC title. I think there's a good chance the WBC upgrades Fury to the franchise champion and allows Wilder to fight for the regular belt. The question after that is, who does he fight? I don't see a third fight with Ortiz, but I would love to see him and Andy Ruiz Jr. go at it for the vacant WBC belt. Really, anybody, Wilder can fight anybody that he wants outside of Fury and Joshua, who look to be fighting each other. And I think he needs to do that. Maybe shake off some rust in the first half of the year, and then, of course, see what happens with Fury and Joshua. If they line up a fight against each other, then Wilder can go schedule something else, and that's what he needs to do. But, definitely see what happens there, but don't waste so much time. And, towards the end of the year, he could face the interim champion. He could face the winner of Povetkin and Dillon White. But the first half of the year, go claim that belt if it's available. But, Deontay Wilder has an opportunity to have a bounce back year and set himself up for 2021 against the winner of Fury and Joshua. To maybe whoever comes out the end of that, he could fight them in 2021. And there's some big fights on the horizon. But I think Andy Ruiz, if him and Wilder get together, man, that's going to be some fireworks right there and an exciting build-up and an exciting matchup. And I think Wilder just needs to get back on the horse and go get a knockout or two and come back strong by the end of the year and heading into 2022. So we'll see. Finishing the year number 2, moving up one spot from number 3, is the 2-time reigning unified heavyweight champion, Anthony Joshua. Well, Joshua finally returned in December of 2020 and took on his IBF mandatory challenger, Kubrat Pulev. Wilder had not knocked anybody out. Joshua had not knocked anybody out in over 2 years since he knocked out Alexander Povetkin in 2018. So after he had beat Andy Ruiz in a rematch, he hadn't fought since then. And, a lot of people wanted to see if Joshua still had that killer instinct, if he was still, hesitant. He looked a little hesitant in the fight with Pulev, but it was after he knocked Pulev down and hurt him. I don't think he wanted to overextend himself and expose himself and wear himself out and get knocked out. So he fought a little cautious after he had him hurt. You can argue that Pulev won a couple rounds towards the middle there, but he really set his knockout up and really looked good. And he ended up laying out Kubrat Pulev with a beautiful 1-2 punch in the 9th round after knocking him down with a beautiful uppercut. And now all that was with serious talks going on of him and Tyson Fury. And now as I do this video, Eddie Hearn this morning, and Eddie Hearn just talks sometimes, but I don't think he would say this unless it was true. He said the deal with Fury is all but done. Now, is it going to be for the undisputed title is a big question. We don't know. Because Fury has to fight, Deontay Wilder's his mandatory challenger. But I think the WBC would upgrade Fury to franchise champ. That way the belt is still technically on the line. Now, for Joshua, the IBF and WBA belts are safe, but the WBO belt is the one in question with Oleksandr Usyk being the mandatory challenger. Will he allow for that? Will he take step-aside money for them to fight? We don't know. He said yes, then he said no. Personally, I think he will, and allow this to be for the undisputed title. And then they're talking about a location. I say they go to like Dubai or one of those Arab countries and fight, because it's going to be a shitload of money to bring that fight in. And I say they go over there. They could have a rematch in the fucking UK when COVID clears up and they're allowed to fight again if they want, or in the United States. But yeah, go fight in Dubai or something like that. It's a huge fight. It's major fight. I don't know how it works with the cable networks, with Fury being on ESPN and Joshua being on DAZN, but fuck it. It looks like the deal can be worked out. It looks like they're close to landing it, and I can't wait. If it's not for the undisputed title, it's going to suck a little bit, but I think they're going to work hard to get it done and please everybody in the process. And I really hope they get this fight done, because I can't wait to see it. So Anthony Joshua, looks like him and Fury are going to lock up. If they don't, he's going to fight Oleksandr Usyk next, and that's a huge fight too. So we'll see. We should be hearing some news very, very soon on Joshua, though, and what he's doing next. And finally, finishing the year number 1, moving up one spot from number 2, is the undefeated WBC heavyweight champion, Tyson Fury. He scored maybe the win of the year when he went in a rematch against Deontay Wilder as the underdog and pulled off the win, knocking out Wilder in the 7th round of that fight in a huge performance. I mean, the fact that he stepped inside of Wilder's range, didn't let Wilder get long and extend his punches, and he just beat Wilder to shit, really hurt him. I did say before that fight that if he were to step inside of Wilder and not let him extend those punches and get long, that he could do something like this, but I really didn't think he was going to do it. And he went out and fought perfectly, stopped him in the 7th round, and captured the WBC heavyweight title. Big time win right there. And like I just explained, it looks like him and Anthony Joshua, it looks like they're going to fight next. I really hope that fight pops off. I really hope it does. I think it's going to be great for boxing to see that fight. I know they're trying to decide on the location. Promoters are saying the fight's all but done. I hope that's the truth. If he doesn't fight Joshua, I think he's probably going to fight Wilder. If he doesn't fight Joshua, I think he'll fight Wilder, and then him and Joshua maybe later next year. But one way or the other, he's going to be in a big fight. I hope if he doesn't fight either one of those guys, he fights somebody good next. But right now, it's looking like Anthony Joshua. So I'm not going to hold my breath, though, but I'm getting very excited thinking that's going to happen. I think the WBC will upgrade him to franchise champ if they don't just let him continue on as the full champion. And that way, at least, the WBC title is still represented in that undisputed title fight. And I hope it is truly for the undisputed title. So we'll see. But that's it for the heavyweight division. It is on the rise, guys. Well, not on the rise. It's here. It's the second best division overall in boxing, in my opinion. Only because the talent is not as good as welterweight, but it's fucking close now. There are some very, very good heavyweights in boxing right now, and some more on the rise. Joe Joyce, guys like that, they are on the rise to move into the top 10. Heavyweights are very, very good. I think we're going to have a good year in the heavyweight division. I think some of the trees sitting at the top are going to lock themselves up, and I think Andrew Ruiz is going to get himself back into a major fight this year too. So anything can happen. Any of these matchups are possible, and I think the heavyweight division can be kind of a guiding light for the rest of the divisions to start crossing the street and get these major fights done. I hope the heavyweight division, the PBC, the Zone, Top Rank can work together, and the heavyweight can be the example of working together to maybe give us the Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fight that everybody wants to see. But I love the heavyweights. I love the heavyweights. Can't wait to see what happens in 2021, to set up another great year in 2022. Make sure you're checking it out. That's it. That's my 2020 year-end top 10. Remember, like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate everything. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.